The question was, if somebody else comes into the chutzner, so I bring in my behemoth, and then a different behemoth came in and stoiced my animal, would there be a chiyuv? Is the homeowner accepting a chrayas for that? At the end of the day, the Gemara was not able to be pushed to Shiloh. Okay, so we are up to the following story. So again, we're discussing what level of shmira is accepted by the host and what level of shmira is going to be accepted by the guest. And if you remember, at one point in the Gemara thought there was a level of reciprocity. So if the if the owner of the property accepts responsibility that he will make sure to protect the item of the guest, there's an assumption that the guest makes that same level of commitment that his item won't damage the host's item. That was Reb Zera. But the Rabbi said, no, the commitment to watch is the guest, is the host. If you're coming into my chutzner, I'm taking responsibility for you. You're coming into my storage facility, I'm going to be there to protect you. That's when there's an assumed level of accepted responsibility. But the guest never is taking responsibility for anything of the host. So those were the different svaras that we had surrounding this Shiloh. So the Gemara brings a very interesting Shiloh. Now, until now, the discussion was, we had about a woman who brought her grain into this grinding shop without permission. And we said that if the animal of the owner eats her wheat, she doesn't have to pay. But if her wheat damages the animal of the homeowner, then she does have to pay for it. And there was a discussion, if there's as far as she can say, who told your animal to eat my wheat? So there is such a discussion. So now we have another interesting case. Instead of bringing in her wheat kernels to grind, she brought her dough in to bake. In those days, not everybody had an oven at home. So she brought it to someone who had an oven, and people would come do their baking in his oven. And what happened is also Barcha, the Mari Devesa, there was a gedi, a goat that belonged to the owner, Achla Lalisha. It ate this dough, Chavel, it got hurt from it, Umis, and it died. So Chayve Rava L'shlume de Barcha. The Rava was mechayev her to pay for the damage to the goat because it ate her dough. The problem is Rav had a shita. What did Rav say yesterday? Rav said that the owner of the food can say your goat should never have eaten my food. I'm not chayiv. I'm only chayiv if it's huchlaka, if the animal slipped on my pears. But if the animal ate my pears, I'm not chayiv to pay, because my counter argument can be, who told your animal to eat my food? So Zok Gemara, if Rava is saying that the woman is liable for the damages to the goat because the goat ate the dough, Lema Pliga de Rav, this seems that Rava is arguing on Rav. The Omar Rav, we learned Rav yesterday, have you lost Shalai Soichel? She can say, I'm not paying, your goat should never have eaten my food. Amri Zok Gemara, Hachiash. There's a very big difference between this case and Rav's case, and of course Rava would agree with Rav. Hasam Shaloi B'Shus Loikabel Aleini Terusa. There, if she came in to the place where the grain was, if she came in with her grain to the place where the mill was, without Rishus, the owner surely is not accepting responsibility. But Hacha B'Shus, here where she came in B'Shus, she had permission to come in to this oven house. So since she came in with Rishus, Kabul Aleini Terusa, she is Mekabel upon herself that she'll be responsible for anything that happens to that animal. But we know Rava doesn't say that, because we learned just yesterday that Rava said that it's a one-way relationship. The host is Makabel Shmir, but the guest is not Makabel Shmir. So this teretz is not really the teretz that the Gemara is saying. The Gemara is going to come up very shortly with a special reason why this is different, and why in this case the host is assuming and the person coming in, the guest, is being Makabel Shmir. And that will come out in just a moment. But first, the Gemara goes through a step. Potter. Why over there is it chayiv? We said there, time of shaloi b'shus, or b'shus potter. So why over here, where she came in b'shus, is she chayiv? What's the difference between the case of toichem, where she is potter if she came in with rishus, and in the case of oifa, what's the difference if she's going to the grinder or if she's going to the oven? There's a huge difference between going to a grinder and going to an oven. Amri litcha chitin, when she's coming to grind chitin, she'll never be in a compromised position as far as her tznius is concerned. Since there's no issue of privacy that's required for her, she could stand there with the men. There's no reason why the owner has to leave. There's nothing inappropriate there, and therefore he'll remain there. If he'll remain there, like any other host, and that's why Birshushi's potter. When she comes into bake, Rashi says, while she's working with the dough, her sleeves are going to be rolled up. That's already a problem of tznius, and therefore the owner can't be there with her. Even the boy heats tzniusa, since she does require privacy. Rashi says she's going to uncover her arms. Marvasa the Chatzar, the male owner of the oven, understands that he has to disappear while she's there. Masal kanafshayu. So it's known the process, the procedure is that he's going to leave. So if he's going to leave, who's watching? So there it's understood that she's the only one going to be there. She has to assume responsibility for everything. Since the assumption is that she has to remain, even though he's going to leave, that's why she's high for the damage to the gdi, because here, this is an exception to the rule where the host takes responsibility. Where's Chaim fear when we need him? He would have loved this shot. So, a throw, if she rolls up her sleeve, you can't be there, you got to run for your life, right? And halacha l'maisid comes out a different halacha. Because of that, she is chayiv for any damages that occur under her watch, because indeed it becomes her watch because he leaves. Okay.
Everything or just her stuff?
No, I think she's responsible. I think she's responsible for at least any damage that her dough will cause the owner. If something else goes wrong, I don't know. Okay. We had a later case in the Mishnah where someone brought his ox into the Chatzar of the Balavayis, and the owner's animal stoys to the animal. We had a discussion of it falling into a bar. So let's see what happened. Amarava. And what did this ox do? It seems like the ox dug holes in the field of the owner where the ox should never have been there in the first place. So the halacha is Bala Shor chayiv v'niskei chatzar. When you dig holes in the field, it messes up a field. That's a lot of damage to the field. So of course the Bala Shor has to pay for the damage that his ox did to his friend's field. But what happens if the Baal HaChotzer is mafker his property? Once he's mafker his property, now there's a bar b'shus harabim over here. Baal Chotzer chayiv v'niskei bar. Why would the Baal Chotzer be chayiv for damage that the bar did? He didn't dig the bar. You're responsible for a bar that you dug, but you're not responsible for a bar that was dug by a shor. Hacha, here it's different. Even the islay laheich lemeluya, it was incumbent on him to fill up this bar before he would subject this bar to the public. Before he was mafkir the property, he knew there was a bar in there that the shor dug. At that point, he had no right to release it to the public before he filled in the menace, before he filled in the bar. And he didn't. That gives him the credit, that pins the credit of the bar on him. Command the Chayidam. Rashi has a lot of information to share over here. Zogt Rashi, Ubala Shor Chayiv V'Diskei Bar Im Hifker Rishusa. Of course, only if he was Mafker Rishus. You're allowed to have a bar in your own property. You're not allowed to have a bar Rishus Harabim. Bar. Hadimili the bar b'shus harabim. If the bar first showed up in the shus harabim, you're not responsible if your shor dug the bar. The lava lady de rami lumluye, because there he has no responsibility to fill a bar. So there he's only chayiv if he dug the bar. But hacha, where there's responsibility on him, given this lumluye mekamer the lifkare before he would open it up to the public. The bar dideyu, it's his bar. He might not have dug it, but it's his bar, it's his property, and therefore after basa hachi, by being mafkir with the hole in nasan takala b'shus harabim, he's leaving a public danger in rishus harabim. The Amar Rava said another very interesting halacha. Hichnis shoyroi l'chatzer balabayis shaloi b'shus. Someone brought his ox into the chatzer balabayis without b'shus. V'hizik as balabayis, and his shor damaged the person himself. Maybe he stoiced the person. Oy bal habayis huzak boy, or the shor didn't actively damage the balabayis, but the balabayis got damaged from the shor. How did that happen? He tripped over the shor. So it's not like the shor came to damage the balabais, but the balabais tripped over the shor. Either way, chayiv, the owner of the shor, is chayiv. He brought the shor without permission. But rovat, what if the animal just sat down? And Rashi says at this point, kosol kadaitach, what the rovat means is kosol kadaitach has the rovat v'shiber kalim, oiniskal boy balabais la'achasharovat. Either by sitting down, the animal crushed kalim, or the animal sat down and then the person tripped on him. So until now, when it says oy bal habayis huzak boy, the animal was still standing and the person tripped over him. Now we're talking about an animal that plopped down and became a shtickle bar. There it's potter. What's the difference if the animal was standing or if the animal was sitting? If the balabais was ravat's boy, if the balabais was niskal boy, the owner of the ox should be responsible. Amar Papa, you're right. In all those cases, a vada the balashar would be responsible. The ravats that we're discussing here, that Rav is discussing here, my ravat shehir b'tz glolim, the animal went to the bathroom, and the animal didn't directly damage the person, but the glolim that the animal left on the floor, that became a bar. V'nitnefu kelov shel balabayis. And if the person himself, Zok Rashi, if the person himself slipped in it, that's weiter a bar that the person, the owner, is responsible for, because the glolim were also belonging to the owner of the shor. But here, it wasn't the person himself who got damaged, it was the kalim of the balabais that got damaged. His suit got dirty because it rubbed in this wonderful cocktail that the animal decided to donate to this man's field. To have a glolim bar. The glolim now takes on the status of a bar. We know it's a shor v'loy adam and chamor v'loy kalim. You're never responsible for kalim that break inside your bar. And that's why Ravatz is potter if it damaged kalim, not if it damaged people.
That's a good story.
Okay, and Rashi shares a very important halacha. There's a big machlokes Rashi in Tosfos here. But Rashi is v'nitnu kalim la'achar mikei. After it fell on the floor, only then the person's clothing got dirtied. V'dafka kalim, but dafka his kalim is potter. But if the balabais himself got damaged due to these glolim, chayiv balashar. There the shor would be chayiv. V'loy patrinin lei mishum ishbar v'loy sharbar. Lemaisa, this glolim wasn't dropped by the person. The glolim was dropped by the animal. So why don't you say I'm not liable for a bar that was made by my animal? The chalmidi, the hava, the day b'shas nefila, anything that at the time of its planting, when it falls on the floor, it belongs to the owner of the shor. Kegoyin glolim, glolim belong to the owner of the shor when it comes out. Or another example of something that's yours when it falls down is uchagoyin shenafla gamaloi v'lo yamida. What if your animal fell? We had that story before with Ashir Hashem kigamal aloi, right? So you're chayiv. That's considered that you made that bar. Mechavin aloi mishum bar. I v'afagav the iuloi karya ela hagamol karahu. He didn't dig the bar. The gomel dug it when it fell down, or the shor dug it when he gave out the glolim. But even the shas nefila the dehu, since at the time that the bar was planted, it belonged to the owner of the animal, and the and it's incumbent on the owner of the animal to clean up this this public menace. Kemoy de karya ihudam. It's as if he dug it himself. Even though he's going to be mafkir, he's not going to keep ownership of the glolim. The person is still chai for his bar. It's not comparable to a shor who dug a bar b'shus harabim, where the owner would not be chai. The chafir lavdi dei, because the land that the hole was dug in doesn't belong to him. There's nothing that could belong to anybody from that digging. Or also the dalil hanikshar beregal atarnagol me'elav, or if some rope got caught on to the leg of a tarnagol, again, nothing ever here belonged to the owner of the animal, and therefore there's nothing to be mechayiv him with bar. The dalil lavzidehu. But if he made galolim, or the animal itself fell, so at the time it fell, it did belong to the owner, and now it's incumbent on the owner to clean it up, and he didn't, that is considered ishbar. And therefore, it's chayiv only for the person getting hurt, but it's not chayiv if his clothing got damaged, because v'lay matzina bar shechayiv b'isakeh. Zok gemar hanicha l'shmuel. We had a machlokes Rav and Shmuel if it could be considered a bar if you were not mafkert. So hanicha l'shmuel, the Yomar kol takal a bar, who even if it belongs to you. So therefore, when the glolim fell, they belonged to you, they became a bar. El Rav the Omer Adam Mafkerlei, but Rav who holds that you can't be chayiv for a bar unless you're mafkeret. My ikal meimar, why isn't this Adam Amazik? It shouldn't be considered a bar. Zakta Gemara, Amri Stam Galolim Afkurim Mafkerlahu. The assumption is that the galolim that come out of an animal, the owner is going to be mafkeret. He's not going to still want to keep it. So therefore, the chiv bar will come after he's mafkeret. Zog the Gemara weiter. V'yomer Rava. Nichnas lechatzer balavayis shaloi b'rshus. What if a person, until now we're talking about his animal damage. Now we're talking about a person who went into the chatzer balavayis shaloi b'rshus, the hizikas balavayis, and he damaged the balavayis. Rashi says, what do you mean he damaged? Did he go over to him and punch him in the nose on purpose? Look, Rashi, Kari, bein mischaven, bein ein mischaven. He was doing stretches, and as he was doing stretches, he punched the guy in the nose. So he actually punched the guy in the nose, but he didn't intend to punch the guy in the nose. He was putting on his talus, and when he whipped it over his shoulder, he slapped the guy in the face with his tzitzis. So what is the halacha? Nichlas lechatzar bal habayis shaloi b'shus v'hizikas bal habayis. Or bal habayis was a boy, or even if he didn't do anything to the bal habayis, rather Rashi says he was standing there. And the Balabais maybe didn't notice him and tripped over him. The halach is chayiv because he had no right to be there. But he's zikai Balabais. What if the Balabais damaged him? Potter, then the Balabais will be potter. Now the question is, don't you say Adam Muad Laila? So the teretz is it must be Shaloi b'mischaven. So Zaktamur Amar Papa loy Amrin Ella to loy Havayadabe. That's only if it was Einim Eschaven, the person didn't know, and it wasn't incumbent on him to know that this fellow was there. But if he knew that the fellow was there, even though it's an intruder, then he's Ziku Balabayis Chai. Then if the Balabayis actually did damage to the person, you're Chayiv. My time. Why am I Chayiv? Maybe he has a right to do anything to me because I'm trespassing on his property. So I'm late. Because the Nizik can say, yes, you have rights to trespass me, to call the police and remove me from your property. But lazuke, to punch me and to hurt me, less lach rishus, you don't have rishus. I guess not. Yeah. I guess not.
This is gonna change the narrative from
Sorry?
yesterday. It changes your narrative from yesterday.
What about yesterday?
That the law is different here.
Yeah. And they're following the same svara as they have elsewhere. The Amar Rava v'Temer Papa, because Rava and your Papa both said, again, we're trying to prove the point that just because you're allowed to throw somebody out of your rishus, if he doesn't have permission, it doesn't mean you're allowed to hurt him. V'Temer Papa, Shneim Bershus, if both are their Bershus, and Rashi's example of both of them having a right to be there is Kagoyin Bershus Harabim, Oy Chetzar HaShutvim, Either it's Rishus Harabim, we both have a right to be there. If it's a Chazar of Shutzim, we both have a right to be there. That's also Shneim Rishus. So Shneim Rishus. So they both have equal rights to be there. For instance, the example that Rashi gives is Shneim Rotzin Rishus Harabim. Both people don't have a right to run in Rishus Harabim, so they're both there unlawfully. They're both there unlawfully. So halach is Hiziku Zeh Chayab. If one damaged the other, it will be chayiv. But if they got damaged one by the other, they bumped into each other, but they didn't actually hurt each other, be a dime, they got hurt, Peturin, they'll be put. If they're both, then it's named Shaloi Rishus. Oh, you want to know why Rashi picks? So actually, that is Tosfos's example. Let's have a look at Tosfos. Now that you raised it, let's see Tosfos inside. That's a good point. Shneim Rishus, Pirsha Kontris, Kagoin Rishus Harabim. And Shaloi Rishus is Kagoin Shneim Rotzen, Rishus Harabim. Bekasha, I Tzver Danamas Nisan. Why did Rashi pick this example? Why do I need Amayiroim to tell me halacha that we already know before from the Mishnah? We learned in Perek HaMinich that if they're both rotzing, they're both running, they're both Shaloi Rishus, and therefore we know this halacha. Which is, I think, what you're saying. That so it's two people who are in a third party's chaser. If I went in Shaloi B'Shus, another guy might be the Shaloi B'Shus. Therefore, we're both high for each other. There, it's not equal. There, high islay lasuke daiti b'hai. The guy who came in Shaloi B'Shus should have been concerned. Maybe somebody is in here b'Shus. But the high less than lasuke daiti b'hai. But how am I supposed to know that he gave that somebody else has a right to be here? V'im Shaloi midas ezikoi. B'Shus potter Shaloi B'Shus chai. Okay, but let me just finish the two dots. Time of the Shneim B'Shus, Shneim Shaloi B'Shus. Aval Echad B'Shus, Echad Shaloi B'Shus. The B'Shus potter Shaloi B'Shus chai. So B'Shus will be potter if he got damaged, but Avada not if he actually damaged someone be a dime. So Rashi the B'Shus potter, Bein Hizik to be a dime, Bein Hizik to be Mela, Uvid Lo Yodala. But it's dafka if he's potter if he had no way to know that the fellow was there. I'm sorry?
If they both went in Shaloi B'Shus Chayovim.
Right.
And yes, they were learned if somebody brought in Titus and the other one, the Shor came, and both were Shaloi B'Shus and the Chayiv.
So here it also says Chayiv. It says Shneim B'Shus, Shneim Shaloi B'Shus. Ezekiel says Chayovim. It's part, the Gemara learned at the end it would be potter from Nesek Shalem, because it would be considered B'Shus Harabim, and it's not considered B'Shus Hayoch. It's not called Karen B'Shus Harabim. It's considered. I'm sorry. It's not considered Karen B'Shus Habaylim, and it was going according to a parafin that there was a trial of Chasi Nesek and Nesek Shalem, I think. Chizak to more about it. Nafal lebor behivish meima. I brought in a shor into Yerushus without permission. And then my shor fell into a bar, and it now dirtied the water. So the drinking water in the bar is not useful anymore. Therefore, the owner of the shor is chayav to pay for the damages to the drinking. That's only if when it fell in, it damaged it. Why? So Rashi to have a mazik mamish v'loy dami lebar. The shor is not acting like a bar because I'm not machuyev for damages that my shor does if my shor is a bar. Rather, my shor directly damaged the water that I'm chayiv for. I'm chayiv for damage that my shor directly does. But what if it only dirtied the water after nefila? Then potter, then the balabais will be potter. The owner of the shor will be potter. My timer have a shor bar. The shor takes on the status of a bar. Umayim kalim, and the water has the status of kalim. You never find that damages of a kalim will be mechuyev because of damage done by a bar. As Rashi says, umayim kelim, kol chafetzim kekelim. Any object other than a live animal is called a keli, where the Torah tells us chamor v'loy kelim the lechayiv v'bar. I guess it makes it smelly. The animal still has mud on it.
That's automatic when it falls in. How can it be after?
I don't know. Maybe the animal wasn't dirty, well, the Gemara is going to say it died, and now it's a novela. It's the smell. The Gemara is going to directly deal with it. Gemara will directly deal with it.
It's going to be Makamayim and stuff. It's the seven.
That's Viter, the Mamoina Shehizik. Only if he changes into a bar. If the animal is Matlamayim, that's probably also Mamoina Shehizik. We have to have a case where it becomes a bar. It's only because I didn't take him out. It's only the reason why I'm mechuyev for it is because I didn't take it out. According to Shmuel, who holds any takal is a bar, even if you were not mafker it, so you could say it changes into a bar, and therefore it's part of her kalim. Until I'm mafker it, it's actually mammon hamazik, and therefore I should be mechuyev. Michael Amemar. Why am I not mechuyev to pay if it damages the mayim? That's when you say it's chayiv, when he wasn't mafker it, and therefore it's not a bar. Only if the guf shayameluchlich petit, Rashi says, the animal was full of dirt, and that's how the water got room. But if it's from the smell, the odor of the dead animal, Zok Rashi, that's lav gufehu. That's no longer the guf of his animal that's doing damage. The sirchen, the nevela, memela asala. The smell comes on its own after some time. So there, my chiv is only that I didn't remove it. Unevela gramahu shagayremes l'sirchen sheyavai. The nevela didn't make the smell. It was the goyrim that the smell should come. Aval hivish meirechai potter. My time grama ba'almahu. Grama ba'alma loy mechai. Person's not mechai for grama. So it's not a shaila of bar or not. The Torah is that it was a grama ben nizakin. An animal's grama, you're for sure not chayif. Gewaltig. Zog to Gemara weiter. What if there was a human inside there, and now that human got killed? Mishalem es kaifer, the owner of the ox has to pay kaifer because his ox killed the person. It's not speaking about a muad pashas. We're talking about a shor tam, and a tam doesn't pay a kaifer. Omarav, you know what the case is? It was b'muad lipal al b'nei adam b'boris askina. You had an animal. We had this to get rid of. Yeah, it's speaking where you have an animal that whenever it saw someone in the bar, it said, "Hey, that looks like fun." He jumps in and kills him. So that's already kavanas alahazik. Then this animal should be killed, which means benefila kamaisa. How did this happen that a shor amu did this the first time that it jumped in? It already is chayiv. You're going to tell me maybe you're speaking where it ran away? Can't say it ran away because it dies in the bar. Can't get away this time. I understand how an animal that becomes a muad. The kotal ba'arak ran away. You couldn't get it. We had another case where the Edom knew that Reuben shor stoys, but didn't know which one. Or we had the case where there was husband zayim. There's no way it ever got out of the bar. So if that's the case, they should have caught it the first time. That would have been found, it would have been caught. So here, how is it possible that it had a third chance to do it? It's not kavanosei lahazik. The first couple of times it might not have been kavanos lahazik. The chazi yaruka, it saw green stuff growing in the bar. So now it's not trying to do damage. It's trying to get at the grass, the thing that it thought was grass, the nafal, and it fell in. Rashi here.
The first time.
Very, very good question. So here Rashi explains what happened. Because it wasn't a muad to do this 3 times, b'chavana. Only the third time he did it b'chavana. So how does it become a muad? So let's have a look at Rashi. It's a complicated situation. The chazi yeruga, esev al pi bar. The animal saw what looked like grass in the bar. Ubelechol was coming to eat. V'nafal. The hach nefila. Such a nefila was not kavanos lahazik. Therefore, there shouldn't be any chiyuv kaifer. Umir kaifer shaloi b'kavana mishalim b'nefila achrein. But on the third time, even if it was shaloi b'kavana, you are going to pay kofar. V'aval pi she'ena shor b'skila. Even though since the shor was not mechaven, the shor is not getting killed, and we had a machlokes before. If you can pay, if you're zachiv to pay kofar, if the shor doesn't get skila, here we're paskening obviously that the shor will not get skila, but there will be a chiv kofar. But we learned if the shor is not skila, if shamin l'rav, damar pater mizeh u'mizeh. Didn't Rav say that you're pater from, if you're pater from misa, you're going to be pater from kofar? Hanimili b'muad l'negichos b'kavana. That's only if it was a muad to shtois b'kavana 3 times, but orak la'agma b'rishonos, and it ran away, and that's why it wasn't killed the first time. V'nagach dalit shaloi b'kavana, and the 4th negicha after it was already a muad, it shtois shaloi b'kavana. It shtois shaloi b'kavana. There, paterle migzer sakasa. There, Rav said that there's no chiyuv kofar because for this negicha there is no skila. Yichsev ashar yisakav v'gambalav, and we darshan calls man shein ashar b'skila ein vailim mishalman kofar. But our case is different. Why? This ox here never had a chiyuv skila because all the 3 times before it was shaloi b'kavana, it was just trying to eat grass. Therefore, ein hada asoi ela lekayfer shoshein v'regel. Here it's a different type of mood. It's not a mood of kavanos alahaz. It's a mood of shein v'regel b'chatzar nizik du kminon v'regel shadar shal gavitinuk b'chatzar nizik dika kayfer v'regel. We learned that there's a chiyuv kayfer even for damages that occurred through regel. V'afagav the shaloi b'chavanahu, even though the damages of regel is shaloi b'chavana, just walking by, it's not trying to kill somebody, it's not bedavka trying to do damage. So to here, this ox had no intention to ever kill anybody. It just was looking for food and fell in. So there is it's a muad shaloi b'chavana, and therefore there would be a chiv kofar even though there's no chiv misa, ve'ina shor b'skila. And there Rabbi would agree. Because here the whole muad is a shein v'regel type of muad, not a muad of carrying of kavanah shel hazik, which is totally in the chiv misa. V'hakadami soto here. The Chazi Yeruka, the Nafal told of the Shein, it's a told of Shein, the Mischaven La Nosei. All the animal was trying to do is find something to eat.
So again, so the first 3 times it saw.
All 4 times it was the same thing. It saw grass, it got near it and fell in. So that's the case of Shein.
And that makes it for me.
And it could be a muad, lagabe koifer, but and there's no chiv misa.
So what's the meat? Isn't that the data from any behind to see?
Yeah, Shein v'regel is a muad mikar. Shein v'regel is high the first time already. Nezek shalim, that's correct.
Aber Käufer hat nicht mit Miet von Shan.
So you're no, but the Gemara learned that you'd be mechuyev to pay kofer by Shein v'regel as well.
By first. If
I hear what you're saying. So why did it have to have 3 times? Maybe this shouldn't be considered Shein. It's a modnazach. Ve'endu Shein. It's not Shein. So this might address what Reb Chaim is asking. Even the ayidlei, once this happened 3 times it clumsily fell into a bar. Urchu, that's called urcha. So Rashi seems to be saying that if it only happened once, maybe it wouldn't have a chiv of shein. It's a little mashuna. In order to say that there's a chiv of shein, we have to know that it's urche. At least this is urche for this animal. What if we learn differently? Let's learn that the 3rd nefila, this last nefila that we've been mechayim for, is b'mischaven, and maybe it's taka kofer of keren, not a kofer of shein. Bashar b'skila, and the shor will be b'skila. That you can't say Zok Rashi because la'imatzinu the lagabe kavana tamu, lagabe kavana, lagabe negicha b'kavana. This shor is hashor tam the leka kofer. They wouldn't be kofer for that. Kol kamad lechazi yeruka loyai, because it would up until now it only fell in where it saw grass. So until now it wasn't kavanas lahazik. If you want to tell me this is the first time that it was kavanas lahazik, that wouldn't give you a chiv kofer for keren. In order to have a chiv kofer, For Shane, we have to know that this was its derech, in fact, and that's why it needed to have happened 3 times. And even though it was not kavanas lahazik, it would therefore it would still pay kover, even though there would be no chiv misa. And this is not the case where Rav said that you don't pay kover if there's no chiv misa. Rav was speaking about a case of Karen. Okay, gewaltig. Zog the Gemara weiter. Zog the Gemara weiter. Where are we up to?
I'm gonna
go back up over here. Oh, Amar Rabbi Yosef, the Chazal you coming off right. Shmuel Amar Hamani Rabbi Yosef Aglili. We're going according to Rabbi Yosef Aglili. The Amar Tam Mishalem Chatzi Kofer. Where did Rabbi Yosef Aglili ever say that Tam Mishalem Chatzi Kofer? So let me see what Rashi says. Rashi says, Shmuel Amar Loilam Batam. It's Rabbi Yosef Aglili. It's Rabbi Yosef Aglili. Okay. It's Ula that I was talking about. Ula Amar Rabbi Yosef Aglili. Ula says it's Rabbi Yosef Aglili, but a different Rabbi Yosef Aglili. The Amar Kir of Tarfin, the Amar Karen Bechatzar Nizik Nezik Shalom Mishalim. Hachanami Kaifer Shalom Mishalim. So it's a case of Karen Bechatzar Nizik. Just like our Tarfin says that regular damages that a Shor does, even a Shor Tam does, Bershus Nizik is Chayiv Nezik Shalom. So to Koifer, even though it was Bershus, if it was Bershus Nizik, even though at the time it pays Koifer Shalom, that's a Chiddush. Here the kasha is it's the sheet of a Tarfin. So why did Ula have to say we're going according to Rabbi Yossi Aglili, who says like a Tarfin? Why didn't Ula just say we're going like a Tarfin? So that's a shayla that remains unanswered. So we have 3 different shitas. Either it was koifer of shein v'regel, or it was koifer of a tam, because it's going according to Rabbi Yosef Aglili, the tam and shalom chatzi koifer, or it was speaking of koifer b'shus hanizik. So the last 2 pshatim, of course, are speaking about kavanas lahazik. But the reason why you pay koifer shalom beyatam it was because it was b'chatzarnis. Hachanami koifer shalom mishalom. According to Ula, who said that the whole issue is because it was Bershus Nizik, Hanyu Dekatani, Hayaviv Ibnoi Lasaichai, because that obviously is going to be Bershus Nizik, the father and the son are connected to the owner of the property. Ela Shmuel, according to Shmuel, that is just a regular case of Shein Beregel, what is irrelevant who was in there? Anybody who's in the bar, it should be Achiv. Ma'ya Yaviv Ibnoi, Afilu Achanami. Who's going to be found in a field that belongs to Reuben, his family? But if he brought his animal in Bershos, the Balachot was high for damages to them. Itmar, Rav Omar, Hilchas Tanakama, Shmuel Omar, Hilchas Karebi. So let's just refresh our memory. What is the machlokes between the Tanakama and Rebbe? The Tanakama says that if you give me permission to bring my stuff into your chutzner, you are accepting automatically by default responsibility for any damages that happen to it. Rebbe holds. Now, if you remember, the way we learned at the end from Rava is although the landlord, the owner, accepts responsibility for your animals, you don't necessarily accept responsibility for his stuff. But Rebbe says, unless the owner specifically says, bring it in and I will watch it, the assumption is bring it in at your own risk. Right? That was the machlokes. So Rav Paskin like the Tanakama and Shmuel Paskin like Rebbe that we don't normally assume he accepted risk, and we know that we Paskin like Shmuel because Hilchzak is Shmuel Bedini. Tanu Rabban. Kenoi Sharcha. What if the owner of the property said, bring your oxen, Vishamar, and you watch it? So he specified, I'm not taking responsibility, which is the shayla that Duvi asked at the beginning, could you specify? So that's this case exactly. So the law is Hizik Chayiv. If it did damage, the owner of the ox is Chayiv, because he's responsible for everything that his ox does. The owner accepted nothing. Huzak Putter. And if it got damaged by something that belonged to the Bala Chatzar, the Bala Chatzar is Putter. Because I said, Visharma, you have to watch it. Now, we could be Medaik. What if I didn't say anything? It's mashma that by default, the Shmir is there. The problem is, look at the Sefer. What if the Balabai spoke out, I will watch it, then who's a Chayiv, who's a Putter? If you're Medaik from the Rishon to the Sefer, you're going to see that there's an inconsistency. Sounds like Rebbe. That's because I spoke out. I'm sorry, it sounds like the Rabbanan. Dafka, because I spoke out, I'm not watching it, you must watch it. The Chayiv Balashar Upata Balachotzer. Hashtama, what if the Balachotzer didn't say anything? He just says, come on in. Well, then Chayiv Balachotzer Upata Balashar, the Bimistama Kat Mikabal Alani Terusa. That supports the sheet of the Rabbanan. But Ema Seifa. Kenoi Sharchav Ani Eshmerenu. Then who's a Chayiv? He's a Potter. Time to Amalai Ani Eshmerenu. It's mashma that you have to speak out, I'm going to watch it. Who the Mechayiv Balachotzer Upata Balashar. Hastama, but default is Chayiv Balashar Upata Balachotzer. That's also on the Rebbe. That will be consistent with Rebbe Shita. The Bach irons out the gears so that you read much better. Also in the Rebbe, it's like Rebbe who holds that the Balabais by default doesn't accept responsibility. He's only responsible if he specifically accepts responsibility. Correct the Gemara, Reisha Rabbanon. The Reish is going according to Rabbanon, the Sefer Rebbe. That's a stira. Amar Balazer, yeah. Tavra Misha Shanazu Lo Shanazu. In the first case is mashma like Rabbanon, and the second case is mashma like Rebbe. Amar Balazer, Tavra Misha Shanazu Lo Shanazu. Rav Amar no. Kula Rabbanon. You could say it all goes according to Rabbanon, and by default, the Balachotzer is always accepting responsibility. Why is it that the Seifa says? Why is the Seifa says Bani Eshmerenu? So I did enough of Reisha Shamru Tana Seifa Bani Eshmerenu. Really, the Seifa is loved after. Really, the Seifa is even by default the owner is accepting responsibility. So the Seifa where it says Bani Eshmerenu is loved after just to make a sort of a parallel case. Rav Papa is the opposite. Kula Rebbe. Really, we hold like the Seifa, and therefore, unless the owner specifically accepts responsibility, he's not mechuyev to watch it. V'savalok Rab Tarfin, but he holds like a Tarfin to Omar Keren b'chatzara nezek shalom mishalom. He holds like a Tarfin who holds that Keren b'chatzara nizek pays nezek shalom. Therefore, hilchach Omar le shamru. If the owner said to the intruder, Shomer, you must watch it. That means loy makni le mokaim bechater. It means I'm not, even though I'm letting you bring your animal into my property, but I'm not being makna. I'm not giving you place in my chater. You're strictly a guest, so therefore you are considered bachatzar hanizik because you don't have any rights to my property. Therefore, the keren bechatzar hanizik mishalom nizik sholem. If it's Karen in Chatzar and Nizik, it's Chayiv Nizik Shalom. So even though I let you into my property, that doesn't mean you own my property. You're still a guest. So if your animal touches my animal, you'll have to pay Nizik Shalom. But if I didn't tell you that you must watch it yourself, then we're assuming that even though I'm not accepting upon myself responsibility to watch it, because by default, Rebbe holds I'm not accepting responsibility to watch it, but at least I am telling you you're allowed to have place in my chutzner, so now it's considered like a Karen where we both have rishus to be there. So the chayiv and potter that the Brisa says isn't chayiv and potter because you're regardless you're chayiv for Karen. The question is chayiv and potter of nezek shalom. If it's considered chatzar and nizik, you're chayiv nezek shalom, and if it's not considered chatzar and nizik, then you only pay chatzi nezek. Okay, we'll stop here and we'll be tomorrow.
Let me learn